Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Neurodivergent Connection. What do you do when people guiding your future tell you to lower your dreams? When you're the only person in your family with a disability? When expectations are greatly adjusted without your consent? When someone suggests college might not be for you? Do you shrink? Or do you learn to advocate? Today's guest chose not to shrink. She chose to fight for her education and now she helps others find their voice. So sit back, relax, and grab your favorite beverage and let's learn more about her. See you there, everybody.
I wanna believe in the truth, but only see what I'm shown. Got the freedom to choose, but can't decide on my own. Follow what the group is thinking, bottle up my intuition till it's popping up.
Okay. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Neurodivergent Connection, formerly known as Inside the Asperger Studios. Today I'm joined with Katie Shelby. Welcome to the show, Katie.
Thank you so much.
So why don't we start off with what I usually like to ask my guests. Tell me a little bit about yourself before we get going.
Well, I am a person with a language impairment and learning disabilities. I live in St. Louis, Missouri, with my husband and my two famous dachshunds, Barney and Fred. We'll get more to that later. And I am also a paraprofessional and work with students with disabilities, um, autism, Down syndrome, and just across categorical disabilities for my job.
All right. Now, before we get into anything else, how do you usually describe yourself to people beyond the diagnosis or labels?
I describe myself to people that I am caring, I am patient, I'm I'm understanding, and I am fun to be around.
Now, how has that description changed over time?
It's changed over time, especially with me doing so many podcasts and sharing my life story with others. People have told me that I'm really patient and I really understand and feel um, the need to share my story with others.
Now, was there a point where you stopped leading with what others told you about yourself?
I did. When I was growing up, when I was in high school, I had a guidance counselor and many other people tell me that I shouldn't go to college.
Hmm.
And I did not want to have um, that stop me. So I went ahead and proved people wrong, and I went to college, and I didn't care how long it took me to get a degree.
Congratulations. I mean,
Thank you.
you did the same thing I did. I was told by the Department of Rehab, by my caseworker, that I would never be able to achieve a four-year university. The best I can get was associate's degree. I took that at face value. After the meeting, I got up and I was with my mother and I turned to her as we walked outside and I said, I've never been more insulted in my life. How does somebody who doesn't know squat about me except for what she reads on a piece of paper know what I'm qualified to become? And I bet you that's the same way how you felt.
Yes. And I actually had a vocational rehab counselor asking me why I wanted to continue my education after my associate's degree, and she made me cry after the meeting. So
Mhm.
then I went above her head and went to her manager, and
Mhm.
then they went ahead and um went ahead and helped me with the funding I needed for transferring to the four-year university.
That's the same exact thing I did. When I
Mm.
got home, my mom was like, "What are you gonna do?" I'm like, "I'm gonna write to her manager," and I had her manager's name and email. My mom was like, "Now you gotta be professional about it. You don't want to drop down to their level."
Hmm.
So I basically wrote a letter saying, "I've never been more insulted in my life. that somehow, how can somebody sit there and tell me that I'm not qualified for a 4U university? And from that point on, I got switched to another caseworker who helped me, but did help me with college. But I wound up going online for my bachelor's and got it. And then 4 years later, I went across the ocean and got my master's.
Mm.
Now, you were identified with a language impairment at 3 and a learning disability at 5. What do you remember most about being a kid in special education?
What I remember most is when I was 3 years old and I was diagnosed with a language impairment. I went to an early childhood education center that specialized in special education, and um, I went to preschool, and I
Mhm.
was completely nonverbal. My parents and teachers tried to get me to communicate by ignoring my gestures and my so-called tantrums, which were mainly, now I know, which were meltdowns. And I did not really play with any friends at all in preschool, just by myself. The only friends I really played with were my siblings and my cousins. And then at the age of 5 years old, when I was in kindergarten, I said my first full sentence. And to this day, I wish I knew what that sentence was. My parents nor teachers knew or know what those first words were. And in kindergarten, I was in a self-contained class with 8 to 10 students. And then in first grade, they gradually moved me into the general education setting with supports um, for like resource to get additional help and speech and language and occupational therapy in elementary school.
Now, did you feel supported, isolated, or a mix of both?
A mix of both. I felt a little bit supported and a little bit isolated. Only say that because I didn't start advocating for myself until I was a junior in high school, until I had a speech and language teacher tell me to go to my gen ed teacher and ask for clarification on assignments instead of always coming to her. I was in a class on the class with my special education teacher and then the gen ed teacher. And to this day, I really thank her for pulling me out of my shell to ask for support from my um, general education teacher. And I knew I could always go back to my special education teacher if I still did not understand. And
No.
and when I was in elementary school and middle school, I felt that they did not do that well of a job of showing me how to advocate for myself. They didn't, I guess, get the time to know me and help me learn those skills.
Now, were there moments where you knew you were being treated differently, even if you couldn't name why yet?
Yes, I could tell. Um, Definitely in middle school, my teachers said that I was failing in sixth grade, and I guess they didn't really um, failing a couple classes, and they didn't um, support me.
All right. Being the only person in your family with a disability can be incredibly lonely. What was that experience like for you growing up?
Um, just um, it was, I would say, different. I didn't really understand why I was the only one that was a person with a disability, and my siblings were um did not have um a, a disability. Um it just felt like that I needed more support with homework and stuff, and
Mhm.
they did not. And I had to like outside tutoring, especially for math. And my parents didn't really know how to support me with my homework.
No, did you feel pressure to keep up or prove yourself?
No, no.
No. How did that shape how you saw yourself early on?
It helped shape myself like early on by knowing that I was determined to get through school, to get through any any class from like early on through college.
All right. Now, you didn't learn self-advocacy until your junior year of high school. That's a huge moment. What changed when the teacher pulled you aside?
Just by her pulling me aside and telling me that I should speak up for myself, it changed because I knew I was going to be possibly I knew I was going to be possibly going to college. So I had to learn what my disability was and what accommodations I need so I could speak up to my teachers and professors and let them know what I needed, what would help.
Do you remember the first time you actually spoke up for yourself?
I actually the first time I actually spoke up for myself was in that English class within a class. And I was nervous, I was scared, but then once I started advocating for myself and knowing that other teachers can help, I went ahead and just continued to do that.
All right. What did it feel like to realize you had a voice?
It felt it felt amazing. It felt like, okay, so if I use my voice and advocate for myself, I can get places further or go further along.
I mean, I've learned that the hard way that you must advocate for yourself when you're in, especially in high school and in college, because if you struggle with your work, you're going to fall behind. And I remember once I had a professor I had to get on top of several times before he helped me. Because he would always say to me, if I help you, then I had to help everyone else. And I'm like, yeah, but not everyone else has a written program with the disability department that says that I get extra help from you. He's like, yeah, but I'm not going to do it. I'm like, okay, whatever. Then the next class came. I came back to him. I was like, you got to help me. Third time was a charm. I'm like, you got to help me. I don't, understand this. He tried to, and he did his best. I mean, and I admit that I kind of faltered in that class because it was a little deep, but I got through it.
Yeah.
Now, if go on.
And I had I had difficulties with math and science classes in college, and I just kept taking the math classes over and over and over again until I passed. And I did try to get some support from the local community college's math department tutoring, but they did not understand how to help people with disabilities on that. So I had to get like outside tutoring from family and family friends, and then I finally passed my math classes, and then I had like worksheet burning party, like burned all my like math worksheets. I'm like, I don't have to see these ever again since I finally passed all my math classes.
Now, if that teacher hadn't intervened, how different do you think your life might look today?
If she wouldn't have intervened, I probably would never advocate for myself or for my students that I work with and my friends who are all people with disabilities.
No.
I would probably just be alone and felt like more isolated.
Now, why do you think self-advocacy isn't taught early for disabled students?
Maybe because like especially maybe the parents don't understand like how to support their child with a disability and and probably they just need to be like the teachers and that they just need to build a rapport with the students and let them know that it's okay to have a voice. If you don't understand something, it's okay to go to a teacher and ask for support.
All right. What message do you wish educators understood about this?
I wish they understood that it does take time for students with disabilities maybe to warm up to teachers. And also with processing time, maybe they need some time to think about what they want to say to get their voice heard.
All right. I want to go back for a minute to what we talked about a little bit earlier about you being told that not to go to college. You were directly told not to go to college. That's something a lot of us who are disabled hear. What went through your mind when your guidance counselor said that?
I felt like, look, if my siblings can go to college, I can too. If they can get through hard classes and get through through college, I should be able to have that chance and opportunity.
All right. Did it shake your confidence at all, or did it fuel you?
It didn't really it really made me more confident and more willing and determined um to get a bachelor's degree because I did start with an associate's degree and then I felt like, you know what? I am not done with college. And
Mhm.
I knew I was determined to get a bachelor's degree.
Now, why do you think expectations are set so low for disabled students?
People don't think that people students with disabilities can um further their education. They think they can just get their high school degree or diploma and just possibly work at like a minimum wage job and um but really you gotta read the person and see um what they would like to do.
Now, college forced you to advocate for your own needs. What was the hardest part of that transition?
The hardest part was at the beginning was talking to my teachers and letting them know the supports I needed. And then finding then I found out also that just meeting with the teachers on a regular basis and getting feedback on assignments really helped me other than maybe going to the disability services offices at least at the bachelor level.
Now, was there a moment you realized I actually belong here?
Yes. It I realized I belonged at Maryville University because I got a degree in rehabilitation services, independent living to work with people with disabilities. And I felt like taking those classes, um, I really understood those classes. It was more
Mhm.
concrete in real life since I am living with a language impairment and learning disability.
Now, what skills did college teach you that school never did?
It taught me organization, time management. It taught me um, how to support individuals with disabilities.
Mhm.
It also taught me that I can always go to my teachers for feedback and support.
Now, you support individuals with disabilities in schools and homes. What does it mean to you to be on the other side of that relationship?
I understand and I feel like I understand the students since I live with a language parent learning disabilities. I understand what their day to day life is.
Now, when you work with people, do you ever see yourself in them, a younger version of yourself, and think, wow, I really can help these people now?
Yes, I do see that. Many of my students are nonverbal and or have limited communication, and I see that I could really help them communicate with either a picture exchange program or visuals and an Ogcom device, which I did not have access to when I was growing up. And I feel that having that technology and supporting that with the students will help them communicate.
Now, how does lived experience change the way you do this work?
The lived experience changed how I do this work is um like I understand the students. I like break down their assignments. I let them know if they have questions, they can always come to me or get support from their teacher. I would even just say, "Hey, I'm I don't understand this math problem because maybe you can ask a a peer or the teacher and kind of help them know that if one person doesn't know something, maybe just speak up and ask someone else.
Now, when you help someone move toward independence, what does success actually look like to you?
Success actually looks like them like doing something on their own. For example, I have a student this year that we are moving towards independence. Um, he gets dropped off at school and walks into the building by himself, goes to his classroom and makes his lunch choice. And then then like a paraprofessional would go check on him once he came in.
All right. Now, is it confidence, choice, or being heard?
Confidence for him.
Now, how do you push back against systems that still underestimate people?
I just let them know that if a person with a disability needs support and would like their voices to be heard, um, let them let them be heard.
All right. Now, you said something very powerful. Your friends aren't a support group, just people with shared life experience. Why does that distinction matter?
That distinctions matter because I just feel like that we're more of a family and we're more of that we like understand understand each other.
All right. Now, how does being surrounded by people who get it change everything?
Being surrounded by my friends who understand like who we understand each other, um like we just know we're just there for each other if something comes up. We're kind of like just a whole family
All
of
right.
sisters and um support one another.
All right. What does real inclusion actually look like to you?
Real inclusion looks like having um students be with their peers, their general education peers as much as possible, and
Hmm.
um maybe having them pair up with a buddy in class if they need some support instead of always having like a paraprofessional there
All
to
right.
maybe gain independence.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about your writing. You wrote for The Mighty, and sharing your story publicly. Did that feel scary, freeing, or a little bit of both?
It was a little bit of both. I just wanted to get my story out there because the Mighty was looking for people to write articles about college life, so other individuals with disabilities could read that. And it was kind of a little bit scary to get it out there at first, but then once I got that out there, I just went with it and kind of shared it with other social media sites, and then it just kind of spiraled of sharing my story either with podcasts or presentations.
Were you surprised by how many people resonated with your story?
Yes, I was definitely surprised.
Now, what responsibility, if any, do you feel when sharing so openly?
Just getting out like how important it is to be a self-advocate, and um just sharing my story because I would like to like others to um understand people with disabilities, or if they have a similar story, they can like connect with me.
All right. Let's talk a little about your mission about empowering people to lead their own education and life and journey. What does leadership look like to you when you're disabled?
Um, it looks like standing up for yourself and communicating with people your wants, your needs, and your and like dreams in life.
All right. Now, how do you redefine leadership outside of traditional norms?
Um, what do you mean by that? Sorry.
How do you redefine the term of leadership outside traditional values?
Um, just maybe doing the same thing as trying to like voice your what your wants and needs, and letting people know who you are.
All right. Now we both know there are so many myths people put out there about being disabled and everything. Are you that you are trying to actively try to dismantle to like justify and tell people that these aren't myths, these are actually truths?
Not that I can think of right now.
Now, you're writing a book, right?
Yes.
And it's about your life.
Hmm.
Who are you writing it for?
I am writing it for um people with learning disabilities and language impairments, mainly because there aren't too many books like out there about that. And and mainly other people with disabilities because I work with children with autism and cerebral palsy and um Down syndrome, and then also teachers, educators.
Now, would you say some of the people you're writing it for are the kids who are being underestimated, or even the adults who are still unpacking what they're told they couldn't do?
Yes. Hmm.
Now, if you could speak directly to a young person with a learning disability who's being told to lower their expectations, what would you say to them?
I would say I would let them know that that you can um that you can reach your dreams um and be challenged and just always try your best.
And finally, where can people get a hold of you and find you online if they need help?
Um, they can find me at College Material Girl on Instagram and the girl who was not college material on Facebook.
And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That was Katie Lee Shelby, and I'm Reed Miles. And just remember, you're never alone out there. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
You're welcome.